Should you trust your dog's vet? Hi, I'm Rich with Off Grid Dogs, Training and Behavior, Tampa, Florida. And I'm crazy about you because you love your dog. So, I think most pet owners, unfortunately, they do trust their vet. I say unfortunately because, who else are they going to trust? He's the doctor, right? But what I've found that the more experienced the dog professional, and this is mainly dog trainers, but also other dog professionals that I know, it seems like the more experienced they are, the less they trust most veterinarians, which is sad, but it's true. I don't want to name too many names, but I'll give you one example of a famous one that you can go look up yourself. And there's lots of famous dog trainers, like on YouTube, that will say similar things to what I'm saying. But the oldest and one of the best well-known and most respected dog training website on the internet is Learberg. Everybody knows Learberg. And by the way, they have some great products, even though they don't pay me to say that. My favorite leash in the world I bought from their website. But Mr. Crowley, Ed Crowley, the owner of Learberg, who's been breeding working line German Shepherds. I think he's retired from that now, but he bred those for police departments for, I think, more than 30 years. So he would know a little bit about veterinary care, that he had his own breeding line and was well established and respected for that. He said, and this is a direct quote from Ed Crowley, that many veterinarians do not deserve your respect or your trust. Now, why would he say that? Let's investigate a little bit. And I'm not saying this applies to all veterinarians, because I know some fantastic veterinarians, but and there's some good ones even on the internet that are exposing some of the things that I'm talking about. But first of all, let's talk about some of the things that veterinarians do and that they recommend. For example, we know that you go into most veterinarian offices and they're going to have a major brand of kibble. There's only one or two brands that you'll usually see them pushing. And if you investigate kibble, and in particular, those brands in particular, but in almost any kibble, they're pushing poison. This is like the worst possible thing you could feel. If I fed that to my dog, I would really feel like I was poisoning my dog. So do your own research. By the way, don't believe anything I say. I'm not a doctor or a veterinarian or a scientist. Do your own research. I'm just giving you some things to think about. But why would they push, if they care so much about dogs, and if they know so much about what they're doing, and they don't know anything about nutrition, why would they push? Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, they're making money, but also you have to think back to, the foundation. What is a veterinarian? Veterinarian is someone who went to a school that was funded by big dog food, So of course, they're funded. They're not going to learn anything about dog nutrition, because that would be, helping put their mentors out of business. So they have a big conflict of interest there, is what I'm trying to say. So a huge conflict of interest. So right there, once you learn that, then you start to think, oh, okay, there's some chinks in the armor. Maybe veterinarians are not gods. Maybe they don't care enough about dogs. I don't know. Let's look into some more things. Okay. I did a lot of research on vaccines, and I'm not anti-vax. My dog is vaccinated with all the core vaccines, and I believe in doing that. But I don't believe that they need, at the very most, more than 4 or 5 vaccines. Also, they do not need to be vaccinated every year. veterinarians have been over vaccinating dogs for a long time. Of course, they make some money for doing that, but it's also a get you in the door thing. If people have to come in or think that they have to come in every year to get their dog's vaccines updated, which they don't, and it's very bad for your dog, but it gets them in the door, and then they can find something else wrong or sell them something else. So they depend on that traffic. If you have a super healthy dog like my dog is, we don't go to the vet. We don't need to. You know what I mean? Maybe once in every. I think my dog is almost 7 years old. I think he's been to the veterinarian. Maybe, and I'm not talking about the first couple of visits for his early vaccinations, but he's been to the vet maybe a couple of times since then, and that's mainly just to. My wife gets his, blood checked and stuff like that once in a while, particularly when he was younger, just to make sure, because we have him on a special raw diet, which is very healthy. So anyway, that worked out fantastic. The vets don't even understand what we're talking about when we feed him raw, and they have no clue why he's so healthy and why he doesn't need all their poisons for ticks and fleas and all that garbage. But anyway, so I looked into vaccinations, and I found out that, Big Pharma at work again, up until 2003, I think it was, I know it was about 20 years ago, they'd never even tested or done any studies on whether a dog needs to be vaccinated every year. They were just vaccinating them every year, just blindly, with no studies. So somebody finally did a study about 20 years ago, and they found out that it was very bad and that they didn't need it because they have antibodies, and that you could do a very inexpensive thing called a titer test. Check that out, titer test, to find out, is my dog still protected or does he need more shots? And you'll find out that in most cases he's fine. He's still protected. He doesn't need more shots. Many times a dog can go his lifetime without needing more shots once he gets his first few rounds of vaccinations. And again, check all this out. Don't take my word for anything. But I have no money motivation, and they do. That's the thing, that they follow the money. Nobody's paying me to say this. So, look at who's motivated by the cash, baby. So, and if it sounds like this makes me angry, it's because it does, because I care about dogs. So anyway, they've been over-vaccinating dogs for years, but 20 years ago they found out that they were over-vaccinating dogs. So what did they do about it? Pretty much nothing. The board was trying to tell them, that's in charge of this, was trying to say, okay, you need to, not vaccinate dogs every year. And the vets were saying, well, we can't afford, to lose all that business. So they said, well, then you should start recommending, maybe every 2 or 3 years. So they sort of compromised on it, but they didn't, tell the truth. Most of them don't even do titer tests, much less recommend them as they should. So do your research. If you find that you do agree with what I'm saying, then you need to look hard to find a good veterinarian that will do titer tests for you instead of just over-vaccinating your dog, which has serious consequences down the road. But guess what that causes? More big vet bills. More money for the vet. Okay. So that's vaccinations. I just wanted to touch on that. What else could we talk about when we're talking about our veterinarians, someone you should trust with your dog? Well, how about neutering and spaying? This is where they make a lot of money. This is their big money because so many dogs get neutered and spayed. I've done a lot of research on this, and I would never neuter or spay a dog except in some very rare, extraordinary circumstance, which I mean very rare, like almost never. I would never neuter or spay a dog ever because I've done a lot of research on it. And the pet industrial complex, once again, is lying to you. Okay, we don't need to, and I've done a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But shame on any veterinarian and shame on the shelter systems that still neuter little puppies before their skeleton is even grown. Do some research on what that does to a dog. Any veterinarian that would neuter a dog before it was at least 2 years old, they don't care about dogs. Shame on them. Shame, shame, shame. This is so bad but you shouldn't neuter one at all, or spay. And let's say castrate, because that's what we're really doing to them. For many reasons, but the main reason is it doesn't do anything positive. Okay, it's not going to stop the overpopulation. Dogs don't run free anymore. It's not going to make the dog less aggressive. It makes them more aggressive. Ask any experienced dog trainer who all the dog bites are. They're all neutered young male dogs. They were neutered too young usually. It's not the dogs that still have their balls that are biting people and other dogs. And it doesn't fix aggression at all. It makes it worse in most cases. So, sorry, I get fired up and I can't focus on what I wanted to say. Then, people do it because, he'll get testicular cancer. Well, it's true, he won't get testicular cancer if he doesn't have any testicles, but guess what? It's a very rare cancer. It's very treatable in most cases, and it's much preferable to neutering your dog or castrating or spaying your dog, and then they get much more, many more types of cancers that are much worse than testicular cancer, and they're much less treatable. They're usually a death sentence, like bone cancer is a common thing that neutered dogs get. So, neutering your dog destroys their skeleton. They don't get to grow the skeleton properly, so they're going to have hip and knee problems, which again is big money for the veterinarian. He's going to make a lot of money down the road after he makes money for neutering your dog. Then he's going to make money for all the horrible consequences of that, So, and by the way, cancer is also an issue with dogs eating kibble. Do the research. So again, more money for vets if they get you to feed them the kibble. The neutering and spaying, it destroys the skeleton because they need the hormones to direct the skeleton growth until they're at least 2 or 3 years old. It causes them to get cancers, but also it's just unnatural. The endocrine system is a very complex system, and it needs all of its parts, including ovaries and testicles. So once you do some research and you understand what the facts are, many people like me, many experienced people with dogs, would never ever want to neuter or spay their dog. A lot of people won't say that because it's not popular, and then you lose dog training clients. So again, it's money. We'll lie to you to make money. Okay, not me, sorry. I'm going to tell you the truth. And then another thing that's really ticking me off in the last few years, I've found out that vets are more and more prescribing drugs. They're medicating dogs because of behavior. First of all, veterinarians don't know anything about dog behavior. I dare you to walk into a veterinarian clinic with me. You pick it, any veterinarian clinic, just randomly pick one, and I'll bet you money that the veterinarian and the vet techs will act incorrectly when they meet a strange dog. That's how little they know about dogs. Of course, they're trying to sell you about how much they love your dog, and your dog is so special, even though they've seen 1,000 dogs that day, because they get all excited and they go, "Oh, he's so pretty," just to make you feel good about your dog. It's a sales pitch. It's a scam, and you should never meet a strange dog, especially a dog you're about to poke and prod. You should be calm and get that dog's trust, but they either don't know how to do it or they don't care about the dog, and they just want to sell the dumb dog owner about how much they care about his dog so much. Oh, give me a break. So they don't know anything about dog behavior, number one. Number two, don't take my word for it. Again, do your own research. I could name many famous dog trainers. Ivan Balbanov, right here in the Tampa Bay area, often talks about how he doesn't like the medicating of dogs because of behavior problems. But the world champion, Ivan. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the human's not living correctly with the dog, so of course the dog develops behavior problems. So what do? We drug the dog, which doesn't help. It doesn't make the behavior problems improve. It makes money for the veterinarian though, and makes the owner of the dog feel like they're doing something, so they don't really have to do anything like actually what's necessary, which is to change their behavior so their dog can relax. But don't take my word for it, but don't trust your veterinarian until you do some research and see whether I'm full of it or they're full of it. But just remember, they're the ones making all the money off all this stuff. And if everybody knew what I knew, and everybody had a dog as healthy as my dog, about half the veterinarians could just go away because we wouldn't need them, because dogs wouldn't be so sick and they wouldn't be going to the vet all the time. Thanks for your attention. Let's get our dogs